1 John chapter 2, verse 15. It's a very blunt and inflammatory statement. Do not love the world or anything in the world. Now, that statement alone is unsettling. But the rest of verse 15 and verse 16 make it even more disturbing. Reading on. If anyone loves the world, love for the Father is not in them. For everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, comes not from the Father, but from the world. The world and its desires pass away. But whoever does the will of God lives forever. Now, first, in trying to unpackage these verses from John, we should note the word for world, as in do not love the world, is actually the word cosmos, which means orderly arrangement, like the orderly way the universe is arranged, so that we rotate around our sun at just the right distance. And it suggests the beauty that we see all around us. And in a general sense, it means all the inhabitants of this planet. Now, surely we are to love God's creation, right? And our whole mandate as Christians is to love people. So what does John mean? Well, you see, what John is doing here is he's warning us not to get caught up in the covering or the gift wrapping of this world. Anything and everything in this world which seems nice and good and beautiful, it's only the decoration. It's not the gift. The world is the wrapping paper, not the present that God wants us to have. Think about that for a moment. How many of us have ever commented on how pretty a present is wrapped? We've all done that. Sometimes it's so pretty that when we open it very carefully so we don't rip the wrapping. The bottom line is, we still open that present, don't we? We don't take a present that's wrapped beautifully and set it in the corner and say, isn't that a beautifully wrapped present, and leave it at that. We open it up to see what's inside. What good is a present if we let it sit unwrapped? So you see, creation and all the good things of this world, not only the creation of this world, but the good things that we have in this world, those are just the gift wrapping from God. It's just a covering. It's pretty, and we like it, but it's not the gift. And that's what John is getting at. God gave us this world to have, and to enjoy, and to take care of, yet there's a danger here. You see, when John tells us to not love the world, he did not mean to hate it in the sense of despising the world. Rather, he means we need to be properly aligned in our outlook. What takes your eyes off of Jesus today? What area do you need a little alignment? Is there something you're doing that may be taking your eyes off of Jesus? Are there ways that we love this world more than the Father? Maybe it's our jobs, or our TV shows we watch, our music we listen to, our people we hang around. Whatever it is there something that needs to be realigned today? Reading on, 1 John chapter 2, verses 7 and 8. Dear friends, I am not writing you a new command, but an old one, which you have had since the beginning. This old command is the message you have heard. Yet I am writing you a new command. Its truth is seen in him and in you, because the darkness is passing and the true light is already shining. Now it was Solomon who wrote that there was nothing new under the sun. Here John tells us the commands of God have always been the same. And the Old Testament law was very clear. As Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 5 commands, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. Leviticus chapter 18 verse 18 directs us to love your neighbor as yourself. And it wasn't just by mistake that when pressed to tell the most important command of God, Jesus combined these two Old Testament verses, and it said in Luke and Mark chapter 12, verse 31, there is no command greater than these. To love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. But notice again what John wrote in verse 8. He said, that's the old command. We're always to keep that old command to love each other that way. Yet I am writing you a new command. Now on the surface, he's saying that he has something different for us. That's what it appears to be saying. However, the word translated new here has the idea of freshness or quality. When I bought my Mazda 2, it was a year and a half old. So technically it wasn't a new car. It had a previous owner. But it was new to me, right? The new command John gives us is not technically new. It's what God's always wanted, but it's new to us. It's new in the sense that we are now realigned to what God wants. 1 John chapter 2 is telling us how people we know will know that we are Christians. Verses 9 to 11. Anyone who claims to be in the light but hates a brother or sister is still in the darkness. Anyone who loves their brother and sister lives in the light, and there is nothing in them to make them stumble. But anyone who hates a brother or sister is in the darkness and walks around in the darkness. They do not know where they're going because the darkness has blinded them. Someone wrote, a person can attend a church and sends his check to meet the bills and maintain the property, but all he has done is taken care of housekeeping details. When people become members of a church, they are making a commitment to each other. If I hurt and have deep needs, but out of my pride I refuse to share those needs, in a sense I'm saying, I do not love you. I do not love you enough to tell you what's wrong. And when we are acquainted with needs and refuse to respond to the needs that people tell us about, we are also saying, I do not love you. Because I don't care that you're hurting. I don't care that you're going through something. You see, love is perhaps one of the most abused and misused words in our language. We say we love each other, but we also say that we love chocolate or that dress. Somehow love has become very shallow. However, of all people, we should love each other. How often have we not shown love? How often have we fought or ignored others or looked to our own interests and not to the interests of others? 1 John chapter 2, verse 16. For everything in the world, the cravings of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the boasting of what he has and does, comes not from the Father, but from the world. Cravings, lust, boasting. Just the sound of those words feel harsh and negative, don't they? The idea, of course, is of wanting something that we cannot have. That's what cravings and lust and boasting is all about. Wanting something we cannot have. Notice the progression John makes here when talking about sin. We feel an emptiness in the pit of our stomach. We crave something, but instead of seeking the things that are good for us, we set our eyes on things that are not good for us, and we desire those things. Do we bicker with each other? Do we fight? What do those actions tell the world? What do those actions tell others at church? I used to fight all the time with my little brothers, all the time growing up. And on more than one occasion, Mom would stop us from fighting. Now, you got to understand, see, my brothers and I are both over 6 foot tall. My mom's about 5'6". And she would get between us two as teenagers, she'd push us aside, and we backed off. But she would always say, you would never know that you were brothers the way you acted. Do people know with the church? Will people know who we are? What do those actions tell us as a church? Do you look forward to coming to church on Sunday? Or do you sneak in at the last minute and keep your head down and sneak out as quickly as you can? Those actions are the result of other actions. The actions of people at church who are constantly circling like buzzards, seeking whom they can devour. Why would anybody want to attend a church like that? And I know that there are those who are trying to keep your head down that are probably on the verge of leaving the church altogether. However, sometimes we just settle at church, don't we? We let that obnoxious person continue to be obnoxious because it's easier and we understand and ignore that person. After all, we don't want them attacking us. The result is we never invite our family and friends because we're too embarrassed. And we figure they won't like church anyway. I never wanted to invite my friend Dan to church because I was too embarrassed by my little congregation I grew up in Medway, Ohio. It was an older congregation. There was very few people there. It wasn't cool. It wasn't doing all the neat, slick stuff. And actually, most of the time it was actually kind of boring. Funny thing happened though. One day Dan finally did come. He pushed himself in and came in. And he loved everything about it. And he was constantly hungering for more. Constantly asking me, well, what else are you doing? What else do you have at church? What else can I go to? If he had been persistent and wanted to come with me, he would have never known. He would have never come. I've used this quote before, but it's worth repeating. I love the church. It's the people I can't stand. We should be ashamed for being the self-righteous and the judgmental ones who have discouraged others at church. Jesus said it would be better to have a large rock tied around our neck and be tossed in the sea than to cause his little ones to stumble. Instead of being busybodies poking around everyone else, we need to busy ourselves by learning how to love. If we would spend more time trying to love others and care for them, we won't have time to be angry with people. And John gives us a very simple action we can do that will not only change our lives, but will be a light to those around us as they see us. And they'll be able to know who's Christian. 1 John chapter 2, verses 3 through 6. We know that we have come to know him if we keep his commands. Whoever says, I know him, but does not do what he commands, is a liar, and the truth is not in that person. But if anyone obeys his word, love for God is truly made complete in them. This is how we know we are in him. Whoever claims to live in him must live as Jesus did. Remember the popular acronym from several years ago, WWJD? What would Jesus do? The idea was to think before you did anything and ask yourself, what would Jesus do in this situation? Now, for my own taste, the concept became too commercialized, but the premise is still valid. And taking that action, doing what Jesus would do, will stand in stark contrast to the world today. And may I suggest that doing what Jesus would do will stand in stark contrast to the church today. Some psychologists practice a school of behavior therapy that encourages the client to act as if. To act as if a certain thing is true. You see, it's much easier to act your way into feeling a certain way than feeling your way into an action. Consider Hebrews chapter 11. The people listed there are commended for their faith. You'll notice if you look over that list in Hebrews 11 that every single one of them did something. They did something. They acted on their faith, and their faith became real. The good things we do will never be enough to save us. We know that. We understand that. We are saved by the grace of God, not by our own righteousness. We do not do good works to be saved. We are saved and then want to do good works. That's how those people of faith were. They believed in God. They knew who He was, and that caused them to do something about it. What John is dealing with here, you see, is our lifestyle. How will people know that we are Christians? Someone has written, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. The opposite of art is not ugliness, it's indifference. The opposite of faith is not heresy, it's indifference. And the opposite of life is not death, it's indifference. How do we demonstrate love in our everyday life? It's not enough that we stand against something or that we don't do something else. We will know we are Christians. How? By our love. How do we show our love? 1 John chapter 2, verses 18 and 19 can be very discouraging and depressing. Look at these words. Dear children, this is the last hour, and as you have heard the Antichrist is coming, even now many Antichrists are coming. This is how we know it is the last hour. They went out from us, they did not really belong to us. For if they had belonged to us, they would have remained with us. But they're going, showing so that none of them belong to us. Now, what John is talking about here is persecution. And how even people within the church had turned against other Christians. Note two things here. First, John is talking about the Antichrist. The Antichrist is a popular figure in modern day end times descriptions. But it does not refer to the Antichrist as one person, but as many. In other words, anyone who is working against Jesus is an Antichrist. Second, he says it's the last hour. And by that he means the last time period, or last era of history, the last age of history. And we're still in those times today. The time after Christ. That's even how we date our years, by the years since Christ. Still, it's kind of hard to have a good attitude when the Bible says loved ones will turn against you and the friends will oppose us. We need to understand that things won't always be fun or easy, and we won't always be laughing and merry. But there's an attitude John tells us to have that will let the world know that we are Christians. Look at 1 John chapter 2, verse 28. And now, dear children, continue in Him, so that when He appears, we may be confident and unashamed before Him at His coming. John Fisher put it this way many years ago. He wrote, which is easier to follow? Real Christians don't envy, or real Christians don't dance? Which one gets noticed first? Real Christians don't lust, or real Christians don't smoke? Which is harder to comply with? Real Christians love their enemies, or real Christians go to church on Sunday? You see the problem? The real question is, what are we doing? Is it just surface things that make us appear to be righteous, but inwardly we are dead men's bones? Look at 1 John chapter 2, verse 20. That you have an anointing from the Holy One, and all of you know the truth. John tells us we have an anointing from God. The King James Version says unction. That word sounds kind of serious, doesn't it? Well, it really is serious. That's why it says unction. The word in our text means to be smeared or covered over. It's actually what a priest would do when they anointed someone. They didn't simply sparingly put a couple of drops of oil on them. When they anointed someone, they covered their whole body in the oil. It's like taking an oil bath. Okay, they covered them over, and they would rub it all over them. God has rubbed into our lives as Christians. He's part of us. We are different. 1 John chapter 2, verse 21. I do not write to you because you do not know the truth, but because you do know it, and because no lie comes from the truth. John is drawing a line in the sand here. He's not leaving us with any wiggle room, any gray area. We either believe Jesus is Lord and follow Him, or or we are liars, or we're one of the antichrists John mentioned that are running around. C.S. Lewis put it best when he wrote, "You can shut Jesus up for a fool, you can spit at him and kill him as a demon, or you can fall at his feet and call him Lord and God. But let us not come up with any patronizing nonsense about his being a great human teacher. He has not left that open to us. He did not intend to." So what's our attitude today? On Father's Day 2015, actor Olivia Hudson posted on social media a picture of himself, his sister, actress Kate Hudson, and their father, with the caption, "Happy Abandonment Day." Though Oliver said he was just trying to be funny, the father lashed out at his two adult children in response. But not long after that, the incident actually helped open up renewed communication between father and son, who had been estranged for 12 years. About a year later, Kate stated that she had forgiven her father for abandoning her and her brother as children. Recognizing that her father has to live with his own issues, Kate said to the radio host who was interviewing her, "That must be painful for him, so I forgive him." She added that forgiveness is the greatest tool for moving forward. Failing to extend the grace that has been given to us is one of the most spiritually damaging things that we can do. When Kate Hudson was able to enter into the heart of her father's pain, she found the ability to forgive him. Can we do that? How can we sing about love if we have no love in our heart? Jesus said if we are offering our gifts at the altar and there remember that our brother and sister has something against us. Notice he didn't say if you have something against him, but if our brother has something against us. He told us to leave our gift at the altar. Normally our response is, well, that's their problem, not mine. But Jesus says if someone has something against you, leave your gift at the altar, go to your brother and sister, and be reconciled. In other words, God does not want our gifts to him, or even be able to try to love him if we have something against someone else. And we are to forgive that person even if that person has done something to hurt us. After all, isn't that what Jesus did for us? They will know we are Christians, not by our building, not by our programs, not by our doctrine, but by our love. What are you doing today to show love? What are you doing to show love to someone who doesn't love you?